today with author Pam Farrell, who's the author of many books, including the best-selling book, Men Are Like Waffles, Women Are Like Spaghetti. And she's going to talk to us today about communication in your marriage. So Pam, why don't you go ahead and kick off by telling us a little bit about the situation with you and your husband and how illness impacted that.
Makes my heart connect up to invisible illness. It can surprise you. It can just come out of the blue. And that's kind of what happened with Bill and I is, I tell the story in 10 Secrets for Living Strong, Smart, and Savvy book. But in a nutshell, what happened is, we were in our 40s and everything looked really great. I would describe my life as a hand-crocheted Afghan, like a beautiful piece of art. All of our kids were teenagers, all making great choices. My husband was a pastor of the largest church in our community. He had just designed a building. We just moved into a brand new building. Men Are Like Waffles and Like Spaghetti had hit the bestseller list. And all of our, we were both just 40 and feeling great, going to be married for 25 years. We're like, woohoo, life just doesn't get any better than this. And then it's as if someone grabbed a hold of one little string on that Afghan and began to unravel our life as we knew it. And how it happened is we were out doing a media tour, and Bill started not feeling well, so we went to the doctor, and the doctor said, how long have you had high blood pressure, Bill? And he said, I don't have high blood pressure. He's like, you do today. Well, that got Bill's attention because Bill's dad had a stroke when he was in his 40s that left him paralyzed on half his body. Bill's grandfather had a stroke when he was in his 40s that killed him. And so now my very healthy husband was no longer healthy. And he was going to bed, he used to be super productive. He was going to bed 6 at night. I was, waking up in the middle of the night praying that he'd still be alive the next day. It was very erratic what was going on with his health. And he went to the doctor together on Christmas Eve that year, and the doctor said, Bill, you basically have 2 full-time jobs. If somebody came in presenting these symptoms of, high, crazy, erratic blood pressure issues and 2 full-time jobs, this kind of stress, what would you tell them? You're a people helper. And Bill said, you have some strategic life choices to make. So to make a long story shorter, Bill resigned his senior pastorate, and that was very emotional for him. And right after he resigned his pastorate, our son Caleb was hit illegally in a football game, rushed to Children's Hospital in ICU. He had to be on bed rest for over 8 months, and so we pulled him out of the hospital. Bill still wasn't feeling well. I said, why don't you guys take care of each other? I'll go handle the speaking engagements, need some groceries. And the next night I got a phone call that my senior son was hit in a football game and had a concussion and a knee injury, might end his opportunities for a college scholarship or worse. And then next day, my junior college son was hit in a football game, pulled with a shoulder injury. His quarterback might end his opportunities for a scholarship to finish university. And then the third day, I got a phone call that my 40-year-old brother had just had a heart attack. Could I come take care of his kids? Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how'd you like theater? Just a lot of pressure piled up. And oftentimes, I really feel like that's what happens. Invisible illness, you feel like your life is going great, and then the doctor says these things to you, and well, that's not what I want. That's not what I signed up for. And there's this adjustment that has to happen.
Now, when we're talking about marriage and communication, obviously it's vital. When illness hits, it can be a lot more stress on top of already the additional stresses, like you were saying, going on in your life, your family, the work, the finances, all of those things. And that's one of those times that communication is really vital. And unfortunately, it gets put to the back burner a lot when you're going through the crisis. But what are some ways that you think men and women in a marriage, especially when there's a lot of stress, need to communicate in addition to maybe just, the regular stuff, the hi, how are you over the cup of coffee?
Yeah. It helps to know how men and women process stress differently. And Men Are Like Waffles and Like Spaghetti, we explain that how women process stress is we like to talk our way through stress. Like if I'm stressed out, my mom knows it, my sister knows it, my best friend knows it. You know, at least as a clerk at Walmart will know it. I mean, we just talk our way through stress. But that's not how guys handle stress. How guys handle stress is they like to go to their favorite easy boxes to rest and recharge. It's kind of like looking at a battery in a battery recharger. When you look at a battery in a battery recharger, it doesn't look like it's doing anything, but it is. It's recharging me. And so a lot of times we look at our husband, it's a super stressful situation. We're like, what? You're watching TV? I mean, you're playing Xbox? Come on. Can't you see the world's falling apart? And, well, they can. They're just so stressed out. They need to go to their favorite easy box to rest and recharge. But, you know, I think nature kind of helped us out. So we girls could recognize our husband's favorite easy box, in that most of them are kind of shaped like boxes. You know, the computer screen is shaped like a box, the TV is shaped like a box, the baseball diamond is shaped like a box, a football field is shaped like a box, a refrigerator is shaped like a box, pool table is shaped like a box, the bed is shaped like a box. In fact, that sex box is a favorite box for husbands to go to when they're like all stressed out. It's kind of like the free square in the middle of a bingo card, and they can get there from every other square on their waffle. And so we process our stress differently. And what happens is oftentimes we fight for that stress need to get met. And so you'll see a husband like want to escape to his favorite easy box, like the garage, and the wife is just like chasing with her words, but nobody's needs really get met that way. And so what Bill and I found worked a lot better is if we would just ask, who's most stressed? And seek to meet that person's stress need first. And I found that if I sent Bill to his second favorite box, which is shooting basketball, and while he was gone, if I would journal down and pray through my feelings, when Bill got back, he was a better listener, but I was also a better communicator because Bill wasn't hit with the whole tsunami or avalanche of like all my feelings. And so just by knowing the differences, it doesn't add, like, too often times we fight over our stress needs, and then if our stress needs don't get met, then we get all mad. So now we're stressed and mad, and we have an invisible illness. So it's like we just add more stress onto our own lives. And so it's much better to just realize, okay, we're all stressed. Let's just put the cards on the table and talk about how we can lower everybody's stress. Because stress makes pretty much every invisible illness worse. So if we keep the stress level down by dialoguing, communicating, seeking to meet each other's stress needs by recreation or working out, or praying together, there's just a variety of things that we can choose to do that will lower stress.
Now, one of the things you mentioned in the marriage code book that you wrote is about investigating. And by that, you're speaking of asking yourself and your spouse, is this really the issue that we're stressed over? Is this really what it's all about, or is there something underlying there?
Right. Because oftentimes we fight over the symptom. It's kind of like there's piles of paper. So, a lot of times life feels that way. Paper piled up, stress piled up. And the real issue oftentimes isn't the top piece of paper. It's something much further down that needs to be dealt with. And so if we can simply say, okay, let's just sort through the issues. Let's just keep talking. Let's choose both not to react to each other, because chances are what is upsetting to us is not really what's presenting here. It's something much deeper. And one of the ways that we found worked for us is that we had just like a little square, either a tile, a piece of carpet, because when you're stressed and you're angry, oftentimes you like talk over each other. And so to prevent that, we would just say, you have the floor. And the person who has the floor, they get to talk and the other person listens. And now we used to say, the ball's in your court, but I'm very emotive. And so the ball's in your court got a little dangerous. So it works just better. you have the floor, and that person gets to talk and the other person listens. And you can even set a timer and switch off if it's, stressful to you to wait your turn. That way you'll know your time is coming. But we found that if we each had a turn to just talk about whatever was on our mind, oftentimes the thing that was really the problem or really the issue would eventually rise to the surface, and then we could deal with it and clean that out of our lives. So that got rid of one more stress.
There's obviously a lot of deep issues here, but there's also some quick and easy ways that you can just increase the intimacy, the relationship, improve that between you and your spouse. I know you have a lot of those in your book, 52 Ways to Wow Your Husband. What are some of those that science has even proven?
It's really surprising, some of the easy things. For example, there is a study that's out that says that women who greet their husbands, "Good morning, hun," have better days and better marriages than other women. Now, that doesn't seem like a really hard thing to do, just to say hi in the morning. But oftentimes when we're stressed or not feeling well, those are the little nice things we forget to do. And I also love this study that came out. It was on K-Love Radio, and they said that husbands that kiss their wives good morning make more money, have happier marriages, and live longer. Hey, that's pretty good payoff for just a little kiss in the morning. And so sometimes it's the small things that add up in a big way over time. And so maybe just the habit of sharing a cup of coffee together in the morning and dialoguing about what's coming up in your day. Let's pray for each other. Or the simple act of, I'm just going to bring you, muffin in bed. I mean, I have to make my own muffin anyway. Might as well bring yours to you in bed. Just those small things of leaving a little love note. Or I like to write on the bathroom mirror when it's all fogged up. I'll leave love notes after I take a shower. And then when Bill gets in the shower, he fogs it up again, and then the love note appears. And so just little things can make a big difference. Just remember to try to treat your spouse like company, and things will go better.
Now, there's a lot of people who are listening and saying, oh, I can really connect with what this woman's saying. She's describing our relationship here and how men and women, react differently to stress and all those kinds of things. You have a lot of tools on your website between your books and other resources. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
You can. You can go to lovewise.com, and there's all kinds of free articles, including Recession Romance, which is a list of free or nearly free dating ideas. There's help for couples that are really stressed, like Marriage on the Rocks. There's help for parenting issues. So singles even. We have anything that has to do with relationships. Our organization is called Lovewise because we try to connect wisdom and love, because it's just easier to love and to live life when those two things come together. And earlier I was talking about when your life just falls apart. And one of the simple decisions I made when my life was just unraveling was I said, it seems like I have a choice here. I can get bitter, or I can choose to make my life better. So what's the opposite of bitter? Well, it's good. It's goodness. It's joy. And so I began, people would say, Pam, how you doing? And I didn't know how to answer them. The answer was either too long, too personal, or too depressing. So why wreck their day? And so I started to ask God, how do you want me to answer these people? And God just asked me a question. Pam, what kind of person do you want to be? And I said, well, I want to be the kind of person that can choose joy no matter what life sends your way. Because the Bible says the joy of the Lord is our strength. And wow, we so needed strength in our life. And so people would say, Pam, how you doing? And I decided to answer them, woohoo, choosing joy. And you know what? It caught on. It lifted my spirits. It lifted my friends' spirits. It lifted Bill's spirits. Just that simple choice, because we talked about simple choices. Just that simple choice of looking for the good, not the bad, in every day. I call it looking for God's postcard of goodness, or post-it note of goodness. And when you look for those postcards of God's goodness, you'll start seeing them. Even in the midst of really hard days, you'll start seeing just the little glimpses of hope and help and encouragement. And that oftentimes leads you to the next step of wellness, because you're looking in a way that you'll see things where you might not have seen if you allowed depression and stress to take over in your life.
Thank you so much for your wisdom, Pam, and for your website and your wonderful tools.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Lisa.